going on, family? How is everyone doing? Get your libations, whatever you need to get through the pandemic and through the show. Please, please, please take hold. We don't care what it is, a chamomile or something extra. These are stressful times. Anyway, fam, please hit that like button. If you are in there right now, please hit that like button for me. I would appreciate it. I would appreciate it if you would hit the like button. I would appreciate it. Everybody's on the interwebs these days, and it's just really causing all kinds of problems and backups, but that's fine. Fam, also share, hit that bell if you have not hit the bell already. If you haven't hit the bell so you get notifications, please do that. If you have not hit subscribe, please subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate that. I would appreciate all of that. Tonight we're going to have a conversation. And I like to frame the conversations as I always like to frame the conversations. So, we're hearing a lot now. It's starting to build up. Last show I put up, a few numbers about how when I talk about black, we're talking about ADOS. This is the group. I'm talking about redlined into these or quarantined into these failure areas, right? Historically, 400 years going back and all that kind of stuff. That's what we're talking about. And we see all of this. Had the conversation. We see all of these people and they're talking about, oh my goodness me. Would you know it? The ADOS are having problems. They are really coming down with the corona. They are really struggling and dying. So you see people beginning to have that conversation, but the problem is the way that they're having the conversation, and the way that they're having this conversation is a dodge. It's an evasion. It is an act of cowardice, if you will. So let me just bring up, you know who always the usual suspects are. And I'm going to bring it up, I'm going to blow it up, and then I'm going to take it back down. But I just want to make sure we're clear. Members of the Black Caucus in a letter led by Representative Richmond collectively calling for a select committee to investigate. Stay on that word with me. Investigate. And the alarming, you didn't even word that right. What's wrong with y'all? To investigate and the alarming rates for black mortality and provide critical resources to effectively remedy inequities. I don't know. And that's Representative Cedric Richmond, and they are calling for an investigation, ladies and gentlemen. That's not the only time I've seen this, though. I've seen this a couple of times. Cat Stafford, I at AP team of journalists and myself, and many others across the nation gathered available data and conducted interviews to try to capture the scope and magnitude of the coronavirus on African American communities in the United States. So the theme here is that we're going to do a study. We have got to try to figure this thing out. Why is this thing impacting ADOS communities the way it is? We got to try to figure it out. Do they have small lungs? Do they have itty bitty? Now understand, when you go to that discussion, it's mostly us. It's mostly ADOS in there. Ain't nobody else listening to y'all. CBC. But what are you investigating? Are you investigating, do we have large mucus production or mucus ducts or something like that? We have something. See what you're doing? You're actually playing into the idea that like there is a racial difference between everybody. No. This doesn't require an investigation. I don't know why we're talking about an investigation, but let's just go a little bit into it. When I talk about why it doesn't, I'm going to go a little bit into it. We're going to have a conversation because I want to get into the whole thing. So let's just go to Vox for a quick second. The Trump administration blames COVID-19 black mortality rates on poor health. It should blame its policies. And let's just go into this for a couple of seconds. Can we please? We're seeing tremendous evidence that African Americans, just say ADOS. I'm sick of that word. Just throw that away and then break everybody else up by categories. Just say ADOS and then break everybody up. Are affected at a far greater percentage number than other citizens of our country, Trump said at a daily coronavirus press conference on Tuesday. But what is it that the African American community is so much? Numerous times more than everybody else. Another really bad sentence. We want to find the reason to it. Now, just some data as to the reason to what. This is also from the article. As of Tuesday, black people made up 33% of the cases in Michigan and 40% of the deaths, despite being just 14% of the state's population. In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, you all know what Milwaukee, Wisconsin is, mostly Section 8 and prisons. In Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, where blacks represent 26% of the population, they made up almost half of the county's 945 cases and 81% of its 27 deaths, according to a ProPublica report. That's a great report if you want to go look at it. In Illinois, black people made up 42% of fatalities, but make up only 14.6% of the state's population. In Chicago, the data is even graver. Black people represented 68% of the city's fatalities and more than 50% of cases, but only of cases. Let me do that again. And more than 50% of cases, but only make up 30% of the city's population. Now, go to one last thing because it's the same way here. In the South, the numbers are also grim. In Louisiana, black people accounted for more than 70% of deaths in a state population that is about 33% black. About 33% of the state's 512 deaths as of Tuesday morning have occurred in Orleans Parish, where black people make up more than 60% of the population and where 29% of people live in poverty, according to 2018 census data. Louisiana's first teen death, also one of the first teen deaths in the nation, was of the 17-year-old New Orleans resident Jaquan Anderson, an aspiring NFL player, according to local reports. Now, let me just say something, because we have to understand, let me see if I can bring this up, that this is a nationwide phenomenon. This isn't just, it's not going to be just Albany, Georgia. It's not going to be just Milwaukee. It's not going to be just Chicago or Illinois in general. It's not going to be just Milwaukee. This is a phenomenon that comes from being quarantined to the bottom. It comes from being made a bottom cast. That is what that comes from in terms of being, that's why we say American descendants of slavery. I don't want to be no slave. I don't want to include slave in it. Well, nobody asked you what you wanted. We are living the consequence of that. And that is how we got bottom cast and quarantined into these and redlined into and zoned into these neighborhoods. This article says at first most Philly coronavirus patients were white. New cases are now primarily African Americans. You see, there's nothing to study. What we are experiencing is the reason we called for reparations and said reparation was the only answer. What the CBC is giving you now, giving me now, giving us now is a dodge away from the central issue. If we're not going to do reparations, then you should come home, and instead of being at the CBC, you should come home and work at the fish market. You should come home and work at the QT. You should come home and work at Dollar General. If that's not what you're going to do, if you're not going to fight for that thing, I don't want to hear you fighting for a commission to study. We all know what fixes it. There is no, we're going to just try to change. I saw Dr. Fauci. We're just going to try to change the outcomes. You don't change the outcomes by doing it that way. Let me tell you something. Well, now I'm going to let me hold it. I'll just hold that for 1 second, please. Let's just go back up for 1 second and let's talk about health outcomes a little bit. Because if we're going to change the health outcomes, well, how we fail black patients in pain. Let's just look at it for 1 second. One of the findings that we have here Shocking that 40% of first and second year medical students endorse the belief that black people's skin is thicker than white people. Somehow melanin creates a level of thickness, according to these people who went to medical school or are going in the process, right? Other findings are equally worrisome. In a 2012 study, my colleagues and I found a correlation between a pediatrician's implicit unconscious racial bias and how they treated pain in a simulated African American or white teenager following surgery. As the strength of provider implicit bias favoring whites increased, the likelihood of prescribing appropriate pain medication decreased only for the black patient. What's more, a meta-analysis of 20 years of studies covering many sources of pain in numerous settings found that black African Americans, ADOS, for the most part, overwhelmingly, patients were 22% less likely than white patients to receive pain medication. That is a consequence of what? Listen. This coronavirus is only telling us the same thing that America has always told us. America has told us you are only worth anything to the extent that you can make the majority wealthy and you can enhance the life. Other than that, you are disposable. If you can't do that, you are disposable. You are here to make other people's lives better. You are a disposable group. And the coronavirus is just another expression of that. That's all it is. It's just an expression of what coronavirus ain't did nothing to us that America ain't already did. And you don't need to study that to figure out what's going on. Ain't no study necessary. Ain't no study needed. We know what this is. Do you not know what this is, or where you from? If you don't know what this is, well, we're gonna have to try to figure this out. Figure what out? That we on the bottom, that we got red line, that we got what we got. Where's Cancer Alley, right? Where's that Exxon plant that burps gas into blacks communities? You have cordoned us off. When you segregated us, that was a great way to just put all the failure and all the pollution and all the stress. And so we have to catch public transportation. We have to do all kind of stuff. So when you get on there with the coronavirus, you got to touch the bus. You got to touch the people. You got to be around all kind of people. And then you want to ask me, well, we don't know why it's happening. It's happening because of America. That's why it's happening. Don't let nobody tell you we need a study to figure out why this is happening. You're living why it happens. We all know. If you don't want to do reparations, you just leave. There's no space for you. There was a New York Times article this morning, Black Americans, and it's not like, I hate the black. Let's talk ADOS. Let's talk about the communities that we were quarantined into. I can trace a line all the way back to slavery. And if we go to this chart, we realize once again that we're not all the same. U.S. black, African black, Mexican, all the brown peoples of the world. We're not the same. The cost is not the same. The lived experience is not the same. It's not the same. So stop just saying black. Don't just not say people of color. Don't say black. Say ADOS and then talk about everybody else. Everybody else. But let me just go to one thing real quick. We're going to go to back to this New York Times article really quick. So let's just read a couple of little factoids. For many public health experts, the reasons behind the disparities are not difficult to explain. The result of long-standing structural inequalities. At a time when authorities have advocated staying home as the best way to avoid the virus, Black Americans, like ADOS, disproportionately belong to part of the workforce that does not have the luxury of working from home, experts said. That places them at high risk for contracting the highly infectious disease in transit or work, like I just said with the bus. Long-standing inequalities also make African Americans, ADOS, less likely to be insured and more likely to have existing health conditions and face racial bias that prevents them from getting proper treatment. A lack of early communication about the threat. Now listen to this. Now this is we'll get to this when we get to Van Jones. A lack of early communication about the threat COVID and confusing messages that followed left an information vacuum in some black communities that allowed false rumors to fester that black people were immune. Listen, that's part of it. That's part of it. Another part of it, though, our largest employer is the post office. I'm in Georgia. In Atlanta, we don't travel, but we have to eat the failure, right? So we don't travel. We're not the international travelers coming back from Wuhan, coming back from Italy, but we work at the airport. We work at the airport. When I fly out of Hartsfield, I see black faces everywhere. From the people who are putting the bags on the plane to the people who are working at the desk, to the people who work in the restaurants as servers, to the people who clean the plane. These are ADOS. So we have these jobs and we have these kind of menial jobs, even though we built the country. People don't seem to care. Even most of my people don't seem to care. ADOS is here in the chat, but we got a lot of people, a majority of which I would say who don't care. Number one employee is the post office. You handle mail every day. You come by here, you have to handle the mail. These are our jobs. This is what we have been relegated to. People don't really care that we built the country. Like I said again, I have a majority of people that don't care that we built the country. And yeah, the article has a point in terms of people who misinformed. I'm never going to let this go. Your boy Tariq put up a thing of Africa and said, we ain't really concerned about this virus because we've been dealing with the virus of white supremacy the whole time. You are not a doctor. I don't know if you graduated middle school. I'm never going to leave that alone. That's part of it. But the humongous part is who we are, where we have been relegated to, and what we have to experience. And like, shout out to Antonio. Like, Antonio told everybody that you needed an N95 mask before when they were still available, when they were still on sale at Amazon for the regular price. He said, go get one. While the other guy was talking about, we ain't really worried about that virus. You know, at a certain point, and I was going to get to this at the end of the show, but I'm going to say this right now. At a certain point, you have to put childish things and childish people away. Because those people are not the people for the moment. If this was a prosperous moment, maybe everybody could act a fool and watch a fool. This is not that moment. This is not that moment. So let me just go back to the article really, really quick, the New York Times article. Because I want to just get this down. Sherelle Barber, an assistant research professor of epidemiology and biostatistics at Drexel University, said the effects of government redlining policies that began in the 1930s linger. Many black residents live in segregated neighborhoods that lack job opportunities, stable housing, grocery stores with healthy food, and more. So you basically put us in poison. That's what you've done. Okay, this is just so we're clear. Just so we're clear of what has happened to us and what is still happening to us. Right? And if you work for one of these places, post office or anywhere like that, call in later. Listen, these communities structurally, they're breeding grounds for the transmission of the disease, Dr. Barber said. It's not biological. It's really these existing structural inequalities that are going to shape the racial inequalities in this pandemic. Work kept Talbert, 54, who drove a Detroit bus for 24 years before becoming president of Amalgamated Transit Union Local 26, from staying home. While the virus spread, we can't stay home. We're a bottom caste. We clean up the poop like the people, Kamala's people were the top of the Brahmin. The bottom ones cleaned up the poop. That's what we're supposed to be in America. But you want to be black just like me, Kamala. No, that's not how this works. And I need you to stop talking too. Why are you talking about this? One factor that might make the coronavirus more devastating for African Americans is that they experience high levels of stress-mediated wear and tear known as weathering, said Arlene Geronimus, a professor of public health at the University of Michigan who studies the concept. Watching reports of coronavirus racial disparities this week, Dr. Geronimus said she had found herself shouting at the television. They're saying we don't know why. Dr. Geronimus said, and I'm studying there. It's Geronimus. And it's a lot of things. Let me just say this. Let me just go up here really, really quick. Hold on. You know, one of the things people are starting to study is this. People are starting to study epigenetics, which says that a lot of this stuff is passed down. It's passed down. This whole idea like you get a clean slate when you're born. No. They're saying, we're seeing people say, you know what? It looks like this stuff. It looks like if your ancestors experienced a significant amount of stress and trauma, it's passed down, and nobody is studying it. I mean, good God, the economists in this space, black economists, other than Dr. Darity and a few others, should really be ashamed of yourselves for what you have not done. If we have not built black epidemiology, we have been running around talking about the culture and what the culture can do, and hip hop and the culture. When we had the whole fight with Tariq Nasheed, he said, I'm not really into that. I'm not into pop. I'm into the culture. We got to change the culture. How does the culture get you out of this? Tell me how the culture get you out of this. Let's not be kids no more. Let's be grown people. How does the culture get you out of this? How do flashcards about how being a millionaire, boys, get you out of this? And you were part of the misinformation network. Like you are some kind of scientist. Now let's go here really quick and tell you the abstract of what this article is talking about. Because it's very interesting, but we don't even study it. We just run around like little things on a treadmill. It's just insane. This article, hold on, let me move it a little bit. Okay, that's it. There we go. This article examines how people of color, this is the people of color, throw that in the trash, can biologically inherit the deleterious. I hate that word every time I see it. It's another word that starts with an I hate. Efflagmation, something. Anyway, of effects of white racism. Drawing primarily on the field of epigenetics, I demonstrate how transgenerational racial disparities are in fact racist disparities that can manifest physiologically, helping constitute the chemicals, hormones, cells, and fibers of the body. Epigenetics can be used to demonstrate how white racism can have durable effects on the biological constitution of human beings that are not limited to a specific person who is a target of white racism, but instead extend to that person's offspring. What do you think that looks like when you're ADOS? So not only are you thrown into a pool of trash, of pollution, and everything else, you stressed out, the first to be fired, can't make no money, all of this stuff. But then you have this idea that we're looking at of epigenetics, where you might inherit some of that stuff. They studied in the Jewish community too, in terms of Holocaust kids. This is not just in terms of us. That something happens in the genes of a traumatized person that they pass down that may be responsible for these health problems that we're having. Right? I don't see many of our scientists and doctors and everybody. That's why I said that's why studying this. And that's why I said this is about lineage. Don't tell me about race. I don't care about like race in terms of skin color or hair texture. You can come from a bunch of places and have that. You cannot come from a bunch of places and have the lineage that we have here. You cannot. Don't tell me that, Yvette, you're the same as an Ethiopian. No, the lineage is different. The experience is different. Well, they sharecroppers. Did their ancestors experience slavery in this country? That's a different thing. Don't tell me that. That's a different trauma. And we're learning that trauma does something to your genes. I don't see many scientists talking about it. I don't see many black scientists talking about it. I see a bunch of people going on TV talking stupid stuff. Just saying anything. Well, I'm just gonna go on here and I'm gonna have a conversation. That's all. And so this brings me straight to your guy. And when you go back, let me just go back 1 second. You know, I just read something that was very important. It's also crazy. When I just talked about what I just said about redlining in the 1930s, right? Understand that that happened before before black immigration was which came with the Immigration Act, I think, of 1965. All of that happened before. And so I bring you all the way to Van Jones. We had a whole conversation of, I predicted that when Obama was gone, all these Negro whisperers were going to be gone. Now, Van Jones got kicked out before all of that. He got kicked out by Obama because Glenn Beck said something, and Obama's always been, if Obama ain't nothing, he a coward. If he ain't nothing else, he a coward. He duck his tail and run all the time. So imagine this guy is a Yale lawyer or whatever, and he gets fired. Now, mind you, your boy Van Jones got a lot to say now, but when Obama fired him, he didn't have nothing to say. You went to Netroots even with all the little white people, you went to Netroots and they said, Obama ain't being right, and you tried to calm them down. They was on the verge of booing you. And you said, no. I'm still supportive of Obama. Yeah, because you just a coward just like him. But let's just get to what you just said, because I'm tired of Negroes like this sticking around and talking about blackness and black people and what black people need to do. You wrote something in CNN about that. But this is just, I just want you all to go back and talk, and we're just going to go back when he resigned and all that stuff. So just go back to that and remember that. If you don't remember that he had to resign because Obama is always the ingratiator in chief, and he don't have no spine. He's a yellow-bellied person. He don't got no spine. It's just jelly. So Van Jones was not. Hey, you got to go. But let's look at what Van Jones just did, and we're gonna come right back to that. Van Jones is talking to black people. I don't know why. I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know what's going on in his head. Well, he's talking to us. Black America must wake up to this viral threat. Now, who asked you to say anything, Van? I'm gonna get to that, but let me just say a little bit about what he said. Myth number 1: the Americans who were initially diagnosed with the virus were mostly white. At the beginning of the epidemic, the media understandably focused on affluent white people who traveled overseas, especially Asia. The impact of this news coverage had African Americans joking among ourselves. What you mean ourselves? You never joked among nobody about this. Shut up. Joking among ourselves that perhaps we were somehow immune to the virus. As crazy as it is, a rumor took off that this was a disease that kills only white people. I wouldn't say it took off, but Tariq, and let me just say this. Y'all when I start calling names, y'all some cowards. Everybody will say, well, it took off. And you won't say who put it on roller skates then. Call out people. Name names. Who put it on roller skates, Van? Don't just say, well, it kind of took off and I was there with it. You wasn't there with it. You wasn't there. You wasn't even around black people that. You wasn't talking to nobody black about nothing. You wasn't joking about nothing. Shut up. Let's go to the next quote really quick. It got so bad that Idris Elba, one of the first famous black victims of coronavirus, had to post a video. Wasn't that a weird video? His wife was behind him like she was hand wringing and had a handkerchief. Anyway, had to post a video begging black people to believe that people of African descent could get it too. And yet, when I warned my family of the coming pandemic, my highly educated cousin told me with great confidence, no, we got the antidote for that. My cousin's reaction reminded me of the early days of the HIV epidemic, when people thought of AIDS as a white gay disease. The first visible victims were gay white men, but the illness soon devastated black communities and African nations. Today, AIDS is largely associated with poverty and race. This brother think he deep. COVID-19 is likely to follow the same trajectory. The perception that the disease impacts older, more affluent, and whiter populations will soon give way to a heartbreaking realization. The virus is crushing poorer and blacker populations, and it's affecting young people too. Let me just say this. I'm trying to figure something out. Why is Van Jones here? And why is he talking to us? No, I'm not. Like, what has he built? Does he have an organization? Thousands upon thousands of followers of something that he's built. What has he done to be in this space talking to black people about what we should be doing and how we should be feeling? See, because I say that and I ask that, and now I'll go back to the first article I put up. For those of you who don't remember, Van Jones was the what do they call it? Let me see. He was the Green Jobs. White House advisor on Green Jobs resigns. He was the Green Jobs man. You were never the race man, Van. You were never the race man. You never took that chance to be the race person, to deal with race. You want to deal with green jobs. If you want to deal with green jobs, then deal with green jobs. Don't try to, because the green job stuff didn't take off, you want to come over here and start talking blackness when that's probably not the life you live, Van. These people have to go away. You can't be here no more. You can't be in this space talking to me about race in America when you the green jobs guy. Just go do the green jobs. Just go be the green jobs man then. That's what I need you to do. This stuff you was doing with Obama, this stuff right here. This is what they had to say about him after he left. Former Democratic National Committee Chairman Howard Dean, remember Howard Dean, said Van Jones' resignation was a loss to the country. This guy is a Yale-educated lawyer. He is a best-selling authority about his specialty, said Dean on Fox News Sunday. I think he was brought down. It was just too bad. Washington is a tough place. They didn't even care about you when you came down. Nancy Sutley, chair of the White House Council on Environmental Quality. That's what you were, Van. You wasn't on no race board. You was on environmental quality. We don't have no space. This is a moment where we have not elevated. We only have space for race people, which means ADOS people. We don't have no space. You elevating ADOS or nothing else. We don't have no space for no green thumb people. Go plant a tree, my guy. Was attached acceptable his resignation in a statement released early on Sunday. Over the last 6 months, he had been a strong voice for creating jobs that improve energy efficiency. That's your thing, Van. Energy efficiency. Go talk about it. And utilize renewable resources, she said. We appreciate his hard work and wish him the best moving forward. Yeah, that's what they tell you when you get fired. We wish you the best moving forward. Chop, chop. Go ahead on with your bad self. See, what I'm saying is this, and I'm not trying to be mean. I don't mean no disrespect. I really don't. But here's the issue, fam. This is the issue. This man got to the White House on green jobs because the power structure wanted to place him somewhere. Do y'all remember when he had this, what was it called? The New America something. He had this whole foundation he was going to start, Van Jones did. He had a whole day long thing that was covered by the media and everybody said, oh Lord, he the new Martin Luther King or something, some weird stuff. And I said, no, he not, but whatever. He had this whole day long thing, New Deal for America, something he was talking about. And it got eclipsed by Occupy Wall Street. He just got shut down and he was there looking crazy all over again. He did nothing but look crazy his whole career. So he did that whole thing. He got eclipsed. But he did the green jobs and then he said we're going to do the New Deal. There is an apparatus somewhere amongst the majority that want to see somewhere, why, I don't know, Van Jones be successful, but you are not representative of us and you are not representative of what we need to be talking about and advocated for. We don't need you, Van Jones. I don't know, you might have talked to your cousin, but I don't think you operate in our spaces. I don't think you live and operate in ADOS spaces, or you would not have been the green czar in when Obama come in 2009. You would not have been the green czar. And you know what kind of Negro could have been the green czar in 2009? But I need you to keep doing green stuff. Don't come to me talking about race. You didn't come to the White House talking about race. You didn't make the name for yourself talking about race. You made a name for yourself talking about green, being a green czar. So whenever I need somebody to talk about renewable energy, I come to you. Otherwise, shut up. I don't need to hear from you about nothing about black life or none of the other stuff you want to talk about. You don't know nothing about. Well, I'm a black man. Well, if you was going to be a black man, then stand on that then. Advocate on that. You didn't advocate on that. You advocated on green. Go do green, Van. We tired of hearing from you. You ain't had nothing good to say in it. Well, I don't remember him saying nothing good, but I don't know about his green job stuff. But you ain't had nothing good to say about race. You went around crying about the Trump bill or whatever. You ain't had nothing good to say. At a certain point, when do we tell people just to shut up? I don't want to hear you talk no more. And you would never, you don't represent, like you didn't rise organically through the black community. Like in order to talk about race, you should have you started out here and, or you were this and your church grew, or you were here on YouTube, or you were an activist out here, or you got elected to do something with a black agenda or whatever. You don't have a right to talk about this. You don't, by what right are you writing a CNN about what black people need to do? Go do your renewable energy stuff and just leave us be. Please. All of the Negro whisperers, they everywhere. What he won't tell you is that we live in a society where some people get saved, some people get thrown away. Some people are essential, some people are disposable, and we have been relegated to disposable. As ADOS. That's where we are. He won't tell you that. And we need somebody to tell you that. See, one thing we've gotten caught up in, and I saw this coming, it's like, I saw this about Hank Aaron, and no disrespect to like his legacy. But like, what we have to understand is like, this stuff didn't work. Well, we was going to have the first, and that means we were going to really be in there, and we were going to have the second, and we was going to really be in the game, because we done had the first, the second, the third, and the fourth. We was going to really be in there. It don't mean, that junk didn't mean nothing. In terms of who we are and how we elevate. It didn't mean nothing. Never meant nothing. So we're in a different place now where there are people that we have to get rid of. And I mean like stop listening to. Why in the world would you listen to Van Jones? You saw in look what happened to Milwaukee. They had people come out and vote. They said, okay, you want to vote? The governor said, no. I think the governor's Democrat said, no. After the Scott Walker stuff, no. We got to find a different way to do this. No, the GOP said, no, we're not doing that. No, if they want to, let them vote with their lives. May the odds be forever in their favor. That means you're disposable. I see white people in that line too. America ain't never had no problem throwing all of us away, and the bottom of white people ain't never had no problem doing that. This is a vicious place. Knives everywhere. Just understand that. Reparations is, and I just, I want people to understand that at the beginning of this, and we had another little knucklehead come out the other day and try to say, oh, these people just begging for a handout. You ain't never going to get nowhere. Your moment has passed. You are a relic too. And everybody who's on my Twitter knows what I'm talking about. But what I want to say, we got a lot of flack. Antonio and I and ADOS in general, all of y'all in the chat who've been riding on Twitter, who've been riding with us, who have been doing chapters, we have gotten a lot of flack for pushing reparations. Tariq called us dusty musties and said we just got to get the culture together. Boy said that we were beggars and naysayers, and we just didn't want to be positive and didn't believe in ourselves. I want to know who has gotten a check from them. I'm not talking about that little $50 stuff. That ain't going to take you nowhere but like the first half of your groceries. And that's if you don't have kids. I'm talking about these people all told you and sold you on this idea that we just need the culture. Or we just need your flashcards. Where are they now? Because what I'm telling you is the reason we advocated so hard for reparations and continue to advocate is because of moments like this. It's not just, yes, we are owed a debt. Absolutely. But, and we should be elevated in terms of who we are. Absolutely. You should be elevated when you build a country. We should be somewhere sitting like oracles. Like, what do you want us for? I don't know. I don't feel like it. Like, the point of the matter, though, the reason another part of this that just kind of gets missed in, like, when we have this conversation is that reparations is so, like, you remember the barber who called in last week? Shout out to him. And he was talking about the stylist who was, you know, who got in a lot of trouble, you know, and they kind of shamed her or whatever because she was trying to do hair, but you got to eat in this moment. The thing that reparation does, it gives you cash payments are a part of it. It's not all of it. We talk about the protections and the ownership and the land. We talk about all of that. But it also gives you money, wealth. And what that wealth means is that you can sit this out. It means that you can stay home and not worry about, I got to go to work. You'll probably have a different job because you've had a different education, because you've had money, you've had, but it means that, like, even if you had to quit a job, so it means you have a different wealth level, which means you are not beholden to doing jobs that could introduce your lungs to a virus that floods them and drowns you and kills you. That's what reparation is. That's what that's always been a part of it. It means that wealth means that you don't struggle during these moments. That's what wealth means. You see all the little white people doing them little jobs and they just zooming all the time. And they putting up videos about their cat and their dog. They're having a good old time. Now, I'm not saying that they won't suffer or they might not have layoffs. But having reparations means that you get, it means that you get what your ancestors fought for. You get what your ancestors toiled for. And you get something for the accrued disadvantage, whether it's Jim Crow, whether it's all the stolen property after Reconstruction. You get a continuous, remember I said it's multi-generational, not one generation, but you have wealth that is a cushion for moments like these. I always talked about how precarious this moment is. What a precarious situation that we're in. And so now what you're seeing is the manifestation of what I talked about. This is a precarious situation. We didn't know whether it was going to be a virus or just some kind of other mass recession or whatever, but we know that we don't have the wealth to survive anything because of how we have to live, because we've been bottom casted. We have to come out of this cast and doing it and shaking up the culture, or trying to teach somebody how to be a millionaire when you yourself might not be a millionaire. I've never seen any documents. That's not going to do it. And so I hope, my hope in this moment, you know, I think it, you know, when we talk about, I don't want to talk about, I know some people, I accept everybody. I don't, whether you are Buddhist or atheist or whatever, my family, you Adolf's family, you with me. But I think one line about that I went to a minute ago, when you childish, you do childish things. And when you grow up, you grow up. And I hope something that comes out of this is that we grow up. And what I mean is grow into who we are, right? Grow into what we are. We are anchored in America. We have built this country and we have a debt, and we should walk tall and strong and have our demand with us everywhere we go and all the information. But we should put away childish things and childish YouTubes and things that don't make any sense for grown people. We should do that. This is a moment when you have these kinds of moments, they're flashpoints, when you get to go home and look back and see what I did right and what I did wrong. What am I doing right and what am I doing wrong? What should I be reading and putting into my mind? If I'm going to watch comedy, let me watch a good comedy. Let me watch a good comedy show or a good comedian. I'm not going to watch this idiot who tries to mix up comedy with stuff that don't make no sense, whether it be 5G weird stuff or it ain't going to affect us. I'm not going to take in misinformation into my home. And because I am a leader of this space. I'm ADOS. That's who I am. I'm built for this. But being built for this means knowing who to listen to. It means knowing what to read. It means adulthood. That's what it means. And I think there are some things as we go forward that we have to put away. And we're going to learn this the hard way because we're losing people. And it's not just about losing people. You know, that's what I tried to explain when Boyce was going about his nonsense. It's not just about losing people. That's part of it. But it's about how do you deal with an economy when the government basically shuts it down? And I'm talking about state governments for the most part, because Trump still ain't shutting nothing down. But I'm talking about when state governments say, yeah, you got a shelter in place. What savings do you have in terms of your inheritance and multi-generational wealth that you can pull from? Right? That's what we're talking about. It's not just about who dies. It's about how you survive in this moment. So that's why I always said it's so stupid to hear people like Boyce talk about, a lot of people died. It's about who has the wealth to survive in this moment and why we don't have it. And that's always been why reparations is the essential missing piece and element for how we are able to move forward. It was never a joke. People love to call it a joke and say Yvette and them are just being silly and they just begging or whatever. It's always necessary and essential. And it blew my mind the way other ADOS people called it a joke, as if they don't need it too. Now, the people who need it too, y'all running around here looking crazy. But now is a turning point. And that's, before I go to break, I just want to put that out there. Now is the time to switch this up in terms of how we live life, in terms of how we think about things, in terms of how we do politics as a collective. Now is the time for that. No better time than now. So let me go to break for a quick second, and then we'll come back and we'll have the calls, fam. I know y'all stressed. I know a lot of y'all are going through stuff. That's the whole community. That's everybody. Just take your time. Try to get to the point because other people want to come in. So just, I understand, but just try to make it as concise. Sometimes you might want to write down a couple of bullet points just to get to it. And get through it. I want to know what you're going through. What is the plan forward? What does it look like in your community? What does coronavirus look like where you are? Are some of you postal workers or state workers or bus drivers? I just want to hear from you in terms of what you're experiencing. So give me a couple minutes. I'm going to set up the phones and then I will be right back. still couldn't find what I was looking for. Oh, okay, I got it. All right. Okay. All right, we are about to go to the calls, fam. Let me go to the first call. I am going to 240. What is your name? Where are you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, Yvette. My name is Nicole. I'm calling from Prince George's County, Maryland.
Hey, what's going on?
Hi, I love your show. I've just started kind of listening the last, I want to say, few months.
Okay.
And it's been very enlightening, and the information that I'm getting from you, as well as Tone Talks.
Okay.
And that. But I just wanted to ask you, has anyone from our black organizations like the NAACP or Congressional Black Caucus reached out to y'all?
No.
For your insight?
No. Unequivocally, okay. No. I haven't received anything.
Okay. I was just wondering about that. Because in my county, it's, because we're right outside. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Prince George's County.
Well, I used to live in Laurel, Maryland, but I'm familiar with Prince George's County. I didn't live there, but I knew about it because when I worked in D.C., I lived in Washington D.C. and I lived in Laurel. So yeah, I know about it. I'm familiar with it.
Okay, good. Well, because it just seems like a lot of times they say that the African Americans from this area, we're in kind of a bubble.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times the youth, along with some of the older people, just don't really understand what's going on throughout the rest of the country in terms of our descendants of slaves community.
Well, I think they know. I think they know, but I think they're comfortable with their own limitations, right? Like in terms of nobody's going to do that here, so we're not going to really fight for it. So we're going to go to like Antonio Moore and the ADOS. Well, I think who's the ADOS LA out there met with Congresswoman, I think it was Bass or whatever. So people are aware. Like we had all those people calling in about that and the Byron Allen stuff when that stuff happened. So they are aware, but they're aware of what that fight would look like and how they might not win or whatever. And so it's just easy to say, I'm going to study, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. They're all aware though.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, because it's just weird. I just always known that just growing and raised and kind of growing up in the area, it's always been this thing of we've left the South. Because a lot of people in this area are from the South.
Mm-hmm.
And so they say that, just to get away from it, and it seems like so if you put yourself a way that you can escape, and it's starting to reach into our community, it's certain things that I have noticed over time of the decrease in resources and all those things with being in a predominantly African-American community. Even though you'll find a lot of people, driving around in Mercedes, Jaguars, Maseratis and so forth, you see the wealth, but it's just like what do you call a facade, just the materialistic thing.
A Negro in a Maserati, imagine that. But yeah, no, I definitely, I'm sorry, I definitely understand what you're saying. And then the thing is, I heard that Washington D.C. is the next hotspot, for COVID. So I mean, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
Yeah, it's right on the front steps of the White House, right? We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. Thanks, fam. I appreciate you calling in. We're gonna see though. We're gonna see. It ain't nowhere to hide these days. Oh, thank you, fam. I appreciate it. I am going now to. I'm going to 678. 678. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette. This is Jacob calling from Detroit.
What's going on, Detroit?
It's been a while since I called in. And I've missed a couple shows, so if I'm a little redundant, forgive me.
Okay.
I think right before this crisis broke in Detroit, we were dealing with a $600 million tax assessment on homes. And I was at the first meeting when that started, and I just want to shout out ADOS. There was a small group at that first meeting, and they represented real well, and I just want to shout them out. They're the other one I'm talking about. They stood up, talked about the Black agenda. I mean, they represented well.
Great.
And there was a lady at that meeting, and she told her story. She lost her home. It was actually taken from her, sold, and demolished. And the woman, she said she just turned 70. And right now, the situation before this COVID kind of hit was, there was really no recourse for her. It was just kind of, she lost the house. They took it from her due to no assessment. She was just out of luck. And it was just heartbreaking to hear that. And there was really a lot of groundswell and focus on that. The community was coming together around it, and then all of a sudden COVID hit. So I don't know where that is right now, and I just hope we get back to that.
Well, you know that you made an interesting point though about how COVID kind of disrupted our underground activism. Like I kind of told people a few shows ago. That like there's a lot that's gonna have to move online, but you make a good point about how like you can build up momentum as a lot of shout out to ADOS. Whether we're talking about Detroit or Chicago or DMV or LA or wherever, Atlanta, like, but what happens is that you build up this momentum towards a certain thing and you move in a certain direction, and now a pandemic happens. Who would have thought? And so now you have to kind of retreat, which means that you have to regain that momentum whenever we get to really fully like go back outside and not be scared. Like all these fits and starts. That's a good point though.
Absolutely. And just really quick on that last point, I was at the meeting, they had the experts in the room, and they said the $600 million estimate was conservative. So it's actually much worse. So the second thing I wanted to talk about was just the job loss related to COVID. I mean, you guys mentioned, I think in one show, barbershops, beauty salons, all of the businesses here that I've frequented here in Detroit that are Black-owned, they're closed, laid off everybody. So the number, I think Antonio said we could see 20% unemployment. I think it might even be worse than that. I mean, it is literally like a ghost town in where all the Black businesses are here in Detroit. And, I mean, they have said they've laid off staff, they've laid off people. It's really, really hit hard here. We were already suffering. Detroit went from the largest Black population of homeowners to majority renters, and now we're in this situation where we're not even working.
And I understand renting is just a transfer of wealth, right? Because they charge you more for rent than you get for the house. So it's just a transfer of wealth to whoever is renting to you. Like, that's all it is.
Yeah. And my last point, I really have a question for you in the community. So where I work, and I don't want to say, we're working on an initiative. I work for a large corporation, and we're meeting with Black business owners and members of the community about what we can do to kind of help. And I don't want it to be a dog and pony show. I don't want it to be disingenuous. And I know, I work for a corporation for years. I know how it can be. We'll do it, it'll be for show, and then nothing will come of it. What are some things that I can bring to the table where I sit that could potentially help the community? Something that I thought about was a kind of a get back to work campaign, but I want it focused on Black businesses where we hire Blacks to help Blacks maybe modernize their businesses, get back on their feet, something like that. But if you guys have any ideas, I'll look in the chat, or if you've got any off the top of your head.
Well, yeah, and make sure you put your Twitter or email in the chat as well. Like one of the things that I would look to too is like these Black businesses are going to be gone. Like if they don't, I don't know how they come back. Like I don't know why we can't do grants for them. Like I don't know why whoever is doing stuff, like we have this Habitat for Humanity for everybody. Why can't we do grants for affordable housing for ADOS or something like that? Like it's a lot of stuff, but like put your Twitter in the chat and we'll, and so everybody can hit you up or something. If you have to make up one, I know you might not want to use your public one or whatever, but if you don't have it, just put it in the chat or email or something so people can hit you up.
I'll post something in the Facebook group, and if folks would give me ideas, I would appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
No problem.
Continue to work. Last thing, shout out to Antonio. If he hadn't posted that video about going to the store before this hit, I did that. And man, I was ready before it really hit the fan. Yep. I had supplies. Antonio, you saved the brother's life, man. Love you all. Have a good night.
Yep, thank you. I mean, Antonio, before them N95s got gone, before the mask got gone, Antonio was like, "You're gonna need this one. This one, the one you're gonna need. Go get this one." That was before all of this stuff popped off. So the thing is, like, you're supposed to get credit for stuff like that. I remember he called me. He was like, Yvette, you looking at this? And I was like, yeah, I see it. And he was like, the numbers. And we was like, yeah, the numbers. And the numbers just ain't looking good. But like, he did the video before. Like, I mean, they were still on like Amazon for like regular price. Like, who else did that? Anyway, let me go to the next caller. I'm going to 702. 702. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, Yvette. This is Ruth from Vegas.
Hey, Ruth. What's going on in Vegas?
Yeah, oh man. Okay, so, and thanks for taking my call.
No problem.
I'm a long-time listener, first time ever calling in, but I just feel compelled to try to get through and tell what's going on out here. Basically, Vegas is 85% entertainment. Basically the entertainment capital out here. And so pretty much everybody is out of a job. Everybody is out. And it's just but so far they are kind of like obeying the lockdowns and, staying home and practicing the social distancing. But my point of even calling was to basically give the other side of what's going on with this coronavirus as far as how it affects our people. To begin with, I have a family member who was diagnosed with prostate cancer, but did not find out until maybe a month ago. His doctor sat on the results for 6 months. Now we're running in the middle of a pandemic, trying to get the proper consultations. We just finally was able to do one on FaceTime to figure out when his surgery is going to be. Fast forward to, I also have a family member who could not afford to stop working in the South, who was a bus driver, who was driving a bus for 2 weeks with the virus, so they suspect. And to the point that now she is in ICU, and her story made the news because they want to know anybody who's been riding that bus in that particular city needs to contact certain people so that they can get checked. Fast forward to, I have an aunt on the East Coast who I just tweeted this today, but she, let me get myself together, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
She had coronavirus. She was diagnosed with it. They sent her home to monitor her symptoms. She was taking Tylenol. Her fever went down. She talked to, we were kind of close, so she talks, we all family members call each other, and now that we knew that she was sick, we contact her. And today she had a doctor's appointment, but between last night when we spoke to her, fast forward to this morning before the doctor's appointment, she wasn't answering her phone. So the long story short is, everybody started to get worried. Wellness check was done. We went there. Well, I didn't go because I'm in Vegas, obviously. Yeah. So my family on the East Coast went over there with law enforcement to do a wellness check, and she passed away between now and today. And she had a doctor's appointment today.
I'm so sorry to hear that. You talked to her last night, though. See, let me just slow you down just a second. My condolences, fam. I'm so sorry, but you talked to her last night. Is that what you said to me? Take your time.
I didn't hear what you said clearly.
No, I said you talked to her last night. Did you tell me you talked to her the night before she passed?
I didn't talk to her personally, but my other aunt did, because she was checking on her just to make sure that she was okay. And so she spoke to her, and probably I'm giving a guesstimate, probably about 9 o'clock last night East Coast time, and by, I'm going to say, the next morning, within less than maybe, I'm going to say under 12 hours, she wasn't answering her phone. And my uncle was going over there to take her to the doctor's office, but she wasn't answering my aunt when they were calling. Yeah. So they did a wellness check, because when my uncle got there, they wouldn't open she wasn't coming to the door, and so they had to force their way in, and that's when they found her this morning. So I'm not saying that to gain sympathy. I'm saying to say this.
No, we don't think that.
So I'm not saying that like I'm trying to one-up anybody's story. I'm just saying from just the way that our Black people are treated, and it's not news to any of us, of how we are always discounted, especially medically. They don't care. I say that because of, fast forward, backtracking before my family member even found out that he had prostate cancer. They knew about this in August, but they sat on his results until he went back for something else that was bothering him, and then they sprung that news on him. And now unfortunately, he's got to risk his health. I have to risk my health going back outside instead of going, quarantining, putting ourselves further at risk with this pandemic. So my point is that, to bring it full circle, and I'm sorry, guys, and I'll hurry because I know somebody else wants to get on the line, is that when, we're talking about how we have to convince our family members about, why we need reparations, or, and trying to get them on board, I would use these life lessons as reasons as to why they need to be on board.
Absolutely.
There's no reason for anybody at this point to be saying that they don't know where they're going to get it from. I've had several family members now recanting and rethinking their whole position, that were saying, we don't know how they're going to get the money. That's never going to happen. You're wasting your time. You must hate white people. What's going on? I hear it all the time. And now I have a lot of people backtracking. So my point in saying and telling these stories as cautionary tales is that it is really happening out here. It's affecting us. Also, too, with my aunt that passed away, what makes it more difficult is that we're all from different states. So because she has coronavirus, we can't even bury her. We can't see her, so we don't get the closure. We have to figure out how we're going to celebrate her life. So we're still trying to figure out that, plus trying to get over what's going on. She was a very healthy woman, was a hairdresser, had her own business. So
how old was she?
Business or bought up the block.
How old was she?
All of that.
How old was she, fam?
She was, Aunt Muffin was, she's in her 60s.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
She's in her 60s. Mm-hmm. But she was a business owner.
Yeah. Did everything right.
On the East Coast. I'm just saying, so if anybody thought, we had our own business, if we buy up the block, it's not even about that. It's just about us, how we have been slighted, I think, medically and just overall as a people. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you for letting me get my thoughts out, and I'll let you go. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you. No, thank you. I appreciate you using your experience to kind of make a point in this conversation. And I, you didn't have to do that. And I appreciate you calling in and using your experience to kind of give light, and your loss to give light of like what has to happen and what needs to happen in this space. So I want to thank you for calling in, because I know that took a lot. So thank you, fam. I appreciate it. And condolences again. And I think one of the things that points to too, that I didn't want to bring up to her while she was on the phone, because I know that's hard anyway, because you've lost somebody. So I don't want to ask too many questions when you've gone through a very traumatic loss and you're grieving. But I think for everybody who's watching this right now, one of the things that points to also was, in addition to, is how quickly this disease, we've heard like how many ambulances there are in New York just going, right? In the sense of what happens to people is that a lot of people just go into cardiac arrest, and that's just it. Or they're doing okay 1 minute and they go into respiratory failure, and that's just it. And when she said something, it hit me when she said, we are all over the country. America scattered us. Like, it didn't allow us to just put down roots, and we're here with our roots, and we can just make a life for ourselves wherever we are. No, we were run out of the South by the KKK. We had to go to the West, and we had to go here. And so America scattered us too, in the sense of like, now we can't always even be support systems for our people. But America did that. We didn't do that. We didn't decide to be all apart from each other all the time. But the situation scattered us. The oppression scattered us. And I think we have to understand that. And listen. Reparations is the only solution for this. There is no other study. There is no other solution. And it's not going to bring her aunt back. That's where we are. And so I'm gonna condolences again. That breaks my heart. Let me go to the next caller. 973. What is your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yeah, this Musa out of Newark, New Jersey.
Hey, what's going on?
Everything's all right. Thank you for your platform.
Thank you.
Also, send my condolences and my well wishes to everybody going through anything in this time of grief, in this national time of crisis.
Thank you. Sure, we appreciate that.
What I want to basically get into, or my spell is, coming from Newark, New Jersey. I was born and raised here. It's a historically black city, and the things that are happening here, it's alarming as well when it comes to the black community, because it's majority of black community, and it's like, all right, it seems like things are being implemented, and I know nobody knows what's going on. There's no blueprint or study to say this is how you're supposed to treat this. But the way it's going on is, all right, if you got a fever, go home. If you don't got a fever, go to work. And it's like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. So you trying to tell me if I don't got a fever, I can go spread it. So, with that being said, I'm like, all right, you're clearly not trying to stop this thing. All right, maybe you're trying to minimize the spread, minimize the effect that the amount of sick people are going to have on the health industry. Understandable. But don't demonize my people, the youth that's in the community, and saying what they aren't doing when it's clearly that the resources just aren't here. And that's not to blame anybody, it's just to say that the resources aren't here. Blaming the people who are at the bottom end of the totem pole isn't the right thing to do. And over policing the people who are at the bottom end of the totem pole, which has been a historic issue, these communities always get over policed. If there's the National Guard coming out, they're going to be sent out to the same communities that the National Guard was sent out during the riots. And that's just what I see. Like I said, this is not a negative cause. It's peace and blessings to everybody.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate you calling in. I think, the thing is, how we got brought here, in terms of our ancestors as slaves and all that stuff, it's like America's about money. And it doesn't function. Like, part of what I said last time we had the show is it doesn't function on behalf of citizens. And the funniest thing is, like, you have white people figuring that out a little bit now. Like, like you gonna get a little this, like we all get Katrina, but you're gonna get a little bit of Katrina too. Because we tried to tell you, we always a canary in the coal mine. Hey, we got problems. The government is not functional for us. The government is very functional. They got a pipeline to corporations. They got a pipeline to banks to give money. They don't have a pipeline for us. They have a pipeline to help us. Nobody checked on those masks and that storage for a reason, because we don't matter. Right? So I think we have something that's far worse than what America in general experiences, but even in terms of the rest of it, like we have, even in terms of America in general, it's set up to function for corporations, not set up to function for citizens. That's a problem. I'm going to the next call. I am going to 443. What is your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
How you doing? My name is Clarence. I'm calling from Baltimore.
What's going on, Clarence?
I'm good. How you doing?
Pretty good.
How's the family?
Hey, I'm good. I'm healthy. The family seems all right in the chat. They seem to be making it through so far.
Yeah, I was calling about I have a respiratory illness, disease. It's called kind of broad, interstitial lung disease. But I have an illness that's similar to lupus. It's a long name, so dermatomyositis.
Okay.
So it's an autoimmune disorder, disease. And I had to go to the hospital. I went to my primary care physician.
Mm-hmm.
This was back in 2018. So when I went, my PCP wasn't there. So her feeling with a guy, I never met him before, he ends up, and I'm saying this because I'm just saying we need to be wary why we go to the hospital and what we tell them is wrong. So I'm constantly having breathing issues because I was still working. I just got granted or whatever for disability.
Okay.
And so what happened then was I walked in. I left work early because my boss, I was like, he told me leave because, he saw something wasn't right. So I went to the doctor. They ended up sending me to the emergency room. So I woke up. Yeah, I woke up 6 in the morning with tubes down my throat. I couldn't talk because, of course, you got tubes. And I must have been down for like 8 hours. So I called my sister before they hit me with whatever they injected me with, because they put me, like, I swear, when they came running up to get me at the doctor's office, it was a covert operation. And then they put the IV in, put me in the back of the truck, so I'm like, all right, but white dude, he's cool, he put the IV in, you know what I mean? So I'm like, all right. So then when I get there, I'm laughing and joking, but then when I woke up, 6 in the morning, I got these tubes, I'm going crazy, I'm like, what the hell's going on? They didn't know what I was saying, but I was like that for like 3 days. Like 3 days, my sister and my kid, cause my car, I left my car there for my daughter. She came to get it, the next day while I was at the emergency room. But when they came to see me, these doctors didn't know what was wrong with me. But they got my medical file, because I go to 2 hospitals in Baltimore. So once my PT, they should have called or something before you start sticking tubes down people's throats.
Well, were you that bad off though? Was your breathing that bad where they had to do it, like, to save you or something? Like, I don't know. Was you that bad off?
I didn't need an oxygen tank until I left. So I was in the hospital for 2 weeks right then, and they tried to call me like 2 months. So I couldn't go back to work. I haven't been back to work since because I got disability, and that was a fight to get disability, even though I couldn't breathe right.
Yeah.
So, and now they trying to force me back to work. So with the whole coronavirus going on, they in the background trying to force me, like, not like telling me get out there and work, but they making sure, like, because I just had a call-in doctor's appointment, but I had to go to the doctor March 6th for a doctor's appointment, and you got to do all this paperwork and all of this stuff because they're trying to, like, so they're telling us it's this mass hysteria, but people that's sick, they pressuring us and cutting our benefits and different stuff like that. I'm missing some of my money from my work benefits. It's a mess, and I'm scared to go to the doctor. I ain't going to the doctor. I'm not going back in the hospital right now. So if I get sick, yeah.
I understand, family. I hear you. I understand. Sure, I ain't going back to the doctor. But yeah. But how do you feel that somebody with a lung infection, like honestly, how do you feel that somebody with a lung problem, like with a lung disease, basically, in this era of coronavirus?
Well, it's scary because everybody's running around. I don't want nobody touching me. So if I go out, like to the I go get my libations, however you want me to put it, because I got my card. You know what I'm saying? So, you still got to go get that. So I go get that. And you got people just all around in they masks and stuff like that. And it's a real uneasy feeling with somebody that's got health issues. And it kind of seems like when you watch TV, like it's a game to people. You know what I mean? When you're sick, and you got different issues, it's not a game. It's not like, oh, I'm sweating, let me go to the emergency room. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you stay away because that's a death sentence. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but I'm saying that for a lung disease that's fatal, for a lot of people who don't have a lung problem, for you to go there, like, you have to kind of stay away. You have to try to take care of yourself. That's kind of the position that you're in. You can't go and like, well, I need to go, but I'm gonna take a shot. I'm gonna take a chance on this. That's not gonna work.
Right. And well, I've been. It's been getting worse and worse for the last 3-4 years. So it was like right now it's kind of flatline, where like it's not getting better and it's not getting worse right now, which to me is good. So I'm gonna start, doing, working out, stuff like that. So I'm still young.
How old are you?
I'm only 43.
Okay.
I'm only 43, so I'm gonna try to turn it around. But what's interesting is, like, you know, I think about it because I'm starting to eat right and different stuff like that. None of my doctors ever asked me about my diet, and I was diagnosed 14 years ago.
Yeah, they don't care. They don't care. They don't care. If any doctor who doesn't ask you about your diet doesn't care about you. I'm just putting it because we all have cholesterol that really kind of shows what's the fat. We all have blood pressure. If you don't ask me if you don't ask me about the green leafies, like, you don't care about me. But I want to thank you so much, fam, for calling in and telling us what you're going through. I always thought about that. Like, if you have an issue, like, what do you go out for? What do you do? So I want to thank you for calling in and kind of letting us know what that looks like from your vantage point. Thank you, fam. Got any last words?
Oh, thank you. And one thing, I did get tickets in October, but I wasn't able to come because of the illness.
Okay,
so,
I understand.
You know, I just want to, you know, I was supposed to be there, me, my son, but we're going to try to do it this year. When you send them out, I'll be looking out.
Okay.
And some people block me on Twitter.
Okay.
What you say? Okay, thank you.
No problem. Yeah, we're just kind of holding off on those two to kind of figure out where this whole thing is gonna go. Like, so, you know, we was planning on releasing the tickets like mid-March. That was the plan, to release the tickets. Now I just want to figure out when we're gonna be back, and is it gonna be a second wave, or what's gonna be going on with the vaccine, and we gonna take a vaccine, and we got too many problems. So I don't know about none of that. We got to figure this out as it goes, as it comes. I am going now to 312. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, how's it going, Yvette? My name is Lee. I'm calling from Chicago.
What's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing. Let's just say that. It's hard, you know. Before Corona, I was trying to set up an appointment to at least look at my teeth because I had a cavity.
Okay.
Need to get some teeth pulled. I'm having some problems. Can't even really sleep and can't wake up. Having all these issues with my mouth, and this Corona situation has really became a burden. You know, I got laid off from a job. You know, the bills is piling up. I don't know what I'm gonna do. You know, it's definitely showing me that, like, reparations is the only thing, and I've been working since I've been like 15 years old, and I'm like 31 now. So it's hard, man. You know, I never asked anybody for a handout, but it's to the point where, you know, it's just not balanced, and I don't know.
Yeah, you can only put little pieces and cobble together life for so long, because something's gonna come about to kind of throw that away, like tear it apart. So you have like this little patchwork. It's like having this little patchwork of a house that don't really have a foundation. You tried to make a window out of some plastic. You tried to make a door out of a tire, and like it don't work. Like, it doesn't work, especially in this America where everybody got real stuff. And so I think that's what we're coming up against, especially since we shouldn't be here. Like, if anybody shouldn't be in this space, it should be us. We built the country. And so I think people are coming to the recognition, like, you have to have reparations. It's just there's no other way to deal with what's happening. So
I agree, and you know, and just to end, you know, it's a lot of people think that, you know, it's easy to it's you know, be prepared for a pandemic or for times like this, but like most people in, you know, poverty or in areas with, you know, where they're not getting a lot of jobs and money, like, we're surviving day to day. So let alone how are we expected to survive a pandemic? You know, that's all I'm thinking. Like, it's been hard just living regular life. Now all of this is pushed up against us. I'm just interested to see what the future holds for us. You know.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. I appreciate you calling in. Yeah, you can't save. Like, we edge out white people in saving. We don't have nothing to save. And I understand that the tooth stuff too, and nothing like tooth pain. And I don't even, I got a crown on the right side of my mouth. I don't even chew sticky stuff on that side. If I have a piece of candy, little chewy thing, I don't even chew on that side because I don't want nothing to pop off and I got to go to the dentist and this, I don't want nothing to, I chew on that side. I don't chew on that side with sticky stuff. Anyway, it's just, I mean, it is what it is. We all do stuff. I'm going to 832. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, I'm Tina Florence from Houston, Texas.
Hey, righty.
And I was calling about, I wanted to tell you how I respect you a lot.
Thank you.
I wanted to call about, I kind of got threw off because of different people saying, a lot of times we go to the doctor and we think the doctor knows what's best. We take them pharmaceutical drugs. A lot of times, like you were saying with your teeth and the gentleman, you could take something that's called organic wheatgrass, and it really helps. I had the same thing, cavities that they said needed to be poor, and I took that organic wheatgrass, some herbal. It's green, it's not good. You gargle with it and you spit it out. When I tell you it cleaned up my cavity, and the gentleman was saying with the breathing, he had some issues with his breathing. If he would take the olive leaf extra, it helps with a lot of virus, breathing, lupus. We think that the pharmaceutical medicine is good, but we don't look out into herbal things. We don't.
Well, you know what? Too, a lot of pharmaceutical medicines are concentrated versions of like herbal stuff, like concentrated and weaponized. So, you know, I don't want to say weaponized. That just attacks a germ sometimes, but like a lot of them are concentrated versions of herbal stuff. So yeah, I think there are some, like if you can look at, especially now, and especially if you could grow it yourself too. Shoot.
Oh, yes. And that's what I wanted to ask you. I heard that they are going to do mandatory shots, vaccination shots, coming into people's houses.
I don't, nah, ain't happening. Ain't happening. Like, this is America. Like,
you don't think so?
Nah, people are recklessly free. You go into some, I live in the South. You try to go in some of these houses if you want to. Go in there if you bad. These people have arsenals. So I don't think that's happening. Let me see. Now, I think they're going to try to develop a vaccine. If they can't find a vaccine, what I think they're more than likely to do is that they're going to actually, I think what they'll probably do if they can't get a vaccine, they will probably try to test people who have the antibodies and have those people get back into the workforce because they've already had it. But there's going to have to be some kind of massive testing or whatever. But I think it's going to be voluntary. Now, what happens is that, like, you might have a job that says you haven't had your shot. Like when we was in school. Y'all remember when we was in school? When you go back to school, you got to have your shot. That might happen. But like, listen, I'm the kind of person, I deal with everything I like to deal with stuff long term. But this ain't something. This is so fluid. I can't deal with it long term because it ain't happened yet. So, you know, it just is what it is. But I want to thank you so much for calling in. I'm going to try to get through a few calls. But I want to thank you so much for calling. I appreciate it. But nah, America ain't never going to have that. America ain't going to never have that with somebody right off in your house. In this country with all these guns. Honey, you just setting yourself up to get your clock clean. Don't nobody want to get their clock clean like that. Anyway, I'm going to the next call. I am going to where shall we go? Going to 281. 281, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yeah, this is, I gotta turn this off. Hey, yeah, this is Tornado Poet from Twitter.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. I just had a couple of things that, the airlines, right? So the airlines got bailed out, and my wife, she works for one of those major airlines, and I suspect, like, right now that she has the coronavirus, like, and I'm just outdone with, you know, this whole corona everything, like, you know, black people just have a hard time, you know, leaving their jobs. Like, she had the opportunity to go beforehand, but she didn't take it, and I think that it's so deep with the epigenetics that, you know, from slavery, that we have a hard time, you know, first of all, getting jobs now, but second of all, trying to leave jobs or dealing with being on the job, like, it's just so tough, like.
Now, did she have symptoms, or you say, something like that?
Say it again?
I said, you say you think she has it. Does she have symptoms of like a disease or something?
She does.
Okay.
Yep, she does. Shortness of breath and fever off and on.
No, and there's no way to get a test anywhere.
Not right now. Like, I called and left a message with her doctor's office, but so far not.
Whew. See, that's another problem. That's another whole problem, these shortness of tests. Do y'all know in South Korea they have these drive-thrus? Everybody just go through the drive-thru. It's free. You go through the drive-thru, you get your test, and the next day they text message you to let you know whether or not you're positive or negative. How is it so hard? Like, to get a test, it's just like peace of mind and know, okay, if I don't got this, I got something else. Yeah, and that's what they said about Atlanta. Somebody told me about Atlanta, like I said, it came through the airports. Like, and not just the people, it came through the workers at the airport, which, like I said, which is mostly us. So yeah. Go on, fam. I'm sorry.
But yeah, I did see that, and I was like, why can't America seem to take the lead on anything, or just take good advice? Like, that was perfect. I saw that with Vietnam or whichever country that was, but it's definitely really real. Like, us going to work and having to be out there choosing to, or feeling like you don't have a choice. It definitely can. It's definitely showing up now.
Yeah.
So that's
that 2 week point.
Thank you.
No, thank you, fam. I appreciate it, Perny. I appreciate you calling in. Yeah, it's showing up. It's showing up now because, like, we're outside of that 2 week point. People always say, "Well, you just got to social distance." We can't, and it's up to the government to say, like, you don't get to say to tell states to, like, y'all all do what's best for y'all. No, we need to be able to be home, and we can't be home unless Trump say be home, and he won't say it. So, like, you just put our lives at risk. So you think you got a potentially fatal disease, but, like, I can't get a test. Or there was a great study about how black people don't really get tested. Like, in terms of we get less tests when we go. People don't want to test us. All a symptom of, like, being ADOS in America. Like, but we don't want to talk about it. We want to do a study about it. Come on, people. I am going now to 424. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello, Yvette. My name is Aaron, and I'm calling from California.
Hey.
How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. So, the disparity that we're seeing with the COVID-19 fatality rate in association with ADOS, that disparity is scattered all throughout the medical setting. If you look at the incidence of heart disease, cerebrovascular accidents, asthma, diabetes, infant mortality rates, lung cancer, we see that disparity usually results in mismanagement and negative outcomes for ADOS Americans, because we don't have access to the medical resources, and there's also too that sort of bias that medical professionals exhibit and limit in being able to care for us. And so what we know in the medical setting as dogma is that the more or the greater of a delay in response to intervening and managing healthcare, the more negative outcomes and oftentimes exponentially increased fatalities result from that delay in managing healthcare. And so now here we are, where we don't have that resource or access to that resource to manage this epidemic, and now we're also encountering the economic hardships associated with surviving in a pandemic. At my practice site, we've started charging $20 for, like, a little package of facial masks that has, like, 5 masks inside of it. And so that financial hardship is a huge burden for so many of our patients, and everything around us is just, like, exponentially increased in price. Hand sanitizer selling for, like, $80 on eBay, not to mention the scarcity of access to food to be able to weather this storm. So I'm looking at the community, and I'm really wondering, like, how are we going to survive this storm? And it scares me, experiencing it as well as functioning in sort of an observational capacity too as a medical professional. So I just want to say to everyone out there, stay strong, stay safe, and don't expose yourself to any unnecessary risk, because the resources are not there to protect us.
That ain't scary. I don't know what is. Yeah, the resources not there. Just not there. And you know what else is scary about this disease? You don't know how it's going to hit you. Like, what is so scary about this disease to me is that you don't know how it's going to hit you, right? So it was different. We were hearing that younger people were all right. Now we're hearing that, like, maybe not so much. So you don't know if you're going to be an asymptomatic person. You don't know whether you're going to be a person that just has a flu and come out of it, or you don't know if you're going to be a person who's intubated. And I heard that once you're intubated, there's only a 20% chance that you make it. Those are not good odds. So, fam, I want to thank you for calling in. You have any last word?
No, thank you so much. Be safe.
I will, fam. I appreciate it. And when he said something important about cost too, about the grocery store. So, like, if you don't have like money to stock up, what that means is that you got to keep going back and forth to the grocery store. What that means is that you got to keep putting yourself at risk of being around people and touching stuff, as opposed to like all these rest of these people who just go one time or whatever and just be like, no, we got everything we needed. We got everything. The last time we bought up the whole store. We had a blast. Like, you can't do that. And so you have to, economic scarcity gets in the way of you being able to just do what you know you need to do. You can't do what you need to do because you ate us. We all are. Let me go to the next call. I'm going to 301. 301. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello, my name is Morgan. I'm calling from Staten Island by way of Prince George's County, Maryland.
What's going on?
How are you doing, Yvette?
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good.
I want to bring to the awareness of the family the past 9 weeks. I've been, as you know, I've called on the show before. I'm HIV positive.
Okay.
And I've been to, I have a new job.
Okay.
And, yeah, it's good. I'm an essential employee now. I have documents actually stating if there's a martial law or anything saying that I'm allowed to be out on the street. So, but for the past 9 weeks, I was sick with every single symptom that COVID-19 has. This is what happened. At first, I went to an urgent care in Staten Island. The urgent care said that if I could make it there, I'm not sick. They turned me away. They would not test me. I went to the emergency room. I walked into the emergency room. The emergency room says, if you could walk here, then you're not good. You don't need to be seen and you don't need to be tested. And I said, I just want to be tested because I can't breathe. Then I went back to an urgent care about a week later. This has been going on for 9 weeks. And the urgent care, again, told me, no, they're only seeing New York Fire Department, police department, and things of, first responders of that nature. Then I called 911, and when 911 came to the door, they came to the door of my apartment, and they turned around and they said, we're only taking life-threatening emergency. At this point, I could not lift up my head, and I was speaking to them from the bed, because the bed is near my door. I was speaking to them. I said, I can't lift my head up. I'm too sick. I can't move. Well, I called my mother in Prince George's County, Maryland, and I don't know what she did, but she got me tested. She got an appointment for me to go in and get tested. I went in, I got tested. I had to wait a week later. A week later, I found out I was negative, but during that time, I got better. So I'm feeling absolutely great now. But what I want to stress is that
kudos to Mom, by the way.
It was absolutely hard. I would not have been able to make the phone calls to advocate for myself. My mother in Prince George's County, Maryland, had to do it for me because I was too weak and I couldn't do it myself. And it's a frightening thing that, because last summer I went through something similar to this where I was dismissed from the hospital, but then I was dismissed with sepsis. I had sepsis. And I was telling the doctor about how much pain I was in. But the point I'm making is, even though we're right there in their faces, we're not real. Our pain isn't real. Our suffering isn't real. It's as if I was talking to these doctors and and I was saying, I'm in pain, I need help. And they just said, take a Tylenol. I'm like, no. This is something different than Tylenol. When we become actually on paper, when we become worthless and actual disposable, I don't think that we're going to have many people care about our health. And we really need this reparations, because it's a very, very scary, dark place that I think we're going to be going to within the next 10 years. And
yeah, I agree. It only goes down from here. It only goes down from here, because we're going into a depression probably. So it only goes down. It only gets worse from here. Don't get better.
I don't know, but I'm going to tell you this, Yvette. Thanks to you, Tone, and Ivy, you all have more or less saved my mental health. I've called before saying that, about having wanted to commit suicide at times. But
I remember.
Because I couldn't understand the reality of what I was experiencing. But I want to thank the three of you, and I want to thank my family out there, my ADOS family. And I just want everybody, please do all the precautions. Please wash your hands. Don't go outside if you don't have to. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Thank you, family. We appreciate you too, and you stay safe.
I just want to let
don't touch nothing.
Yeah, one more thing.
Okay, go ahead.
Mentally and emotionally prepared for this because of you and Antonio. So, being mentally, spiritually, and emotionally prepared carried me through those 9 weeks. And I just want to thank you very much for that.
No, thank you, fam.
I'm out.
I appreciate you calling in. Let me and it is something though. Let me just say, and I'm gonna say this, family. Thank you so much for calling. It is something when you can see it coming, ain't it? It's something to get sucker punched, but it's something when you can see the punch coming. I saw him. I looked at the center, and I saw the chest move. I knew it was a right hook. It's something when you can see it coming, as opposed to when you get sucker punched. Like, the one thing that has not happened to ADOS is we have not gotten sucker punched. We knew exactly, even in terms of the pandemic, we knew about what ADOS life looked like, and what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. So I do agree, and I want to thank him for calling in and letting us know what his experience is and has been like, and I appreciate it. Some of y'all, if y'all gotta go to bed, you go to bed. Now, you gotta go to work in the morning, you go to bed. Those of you who are at home and on quarantine, I'm gonna take a couple more calls. I am going now to 702. 702. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, good evening, Yvette. It's Charlie from Nevada.
Hey, what's going on?
Well, your other caller said what's going on. She talked about Las Vegas. As far as it being shut down, I have a different perspective on it. It is shut down, but I have a different perspective on it. I spoke before about what I do for a living. I'm engaged in this fully. I'm out in it. It is very devastating. The community itself is interesting because there's a lot of food giveaways going on through the school system, because the school system has access to a lot of food, and they're giving away a lot of grab and goes at the high schools. The cars are wrapped around blocks, not streets, but blocks of people lining up their cars to get food at the high schools, at some of the churches, at the boys and girls clubs. I'm glad that's happening. It's good to see that. You're right about everything in terms of people don't get in the way of this, because you don't know. 85% of the people will be fine. I like to get that out there. 85% of us will be fine, but you don't know if you're in that 85%, and that's the problem. We do know that older people and people with existing immunosuppressions will be deeply affected, and they need to actually cocoon. They need to never go out at all. They need to have somebody bring food to them, bring supplies to them, and basically hide until they can get a safe space out. It's imperative, particularly with Black people, because we have so many of what they call the comorbidities, high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, lung disease. We have a lot of that in our community, and we need to really, really take care that we protect ourselves and keep those people cocooned away so that they don't have to interact.
critical thing in that is that many of us work in what they define as essential positions, positions that are very very contact intensive things. Bus drivers, service workers, people like that who have to have contact and be in close contact with people. I'm telling all of them, be sure to get a mask, even if it's just a cloth mask, so that you can protect yourself minimally. At least with that, wear gloves. Try to keep as far away from people as you can. I understand it's very difficult, but they need to do that as much as they can. Yeah. If you're out there in the public, be sure that you don't hang around crowds. Be sure that you're not in enclosed areas. Be outside as much as possible, or in ventilated areas as much as possible, so that you can stay safe. Now, having said all of that, once again, 85% of us will be fine. Those of us who will not be fine are those people who are already in jeopardy. As you said before, as ADOS, we live in a state of jeopardy. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. It has been since we've been in this country. We need to acknowledge that now, and maybe this will, because now it's in the front of everyone's mind, maybe now we will understand exactly why we need reparations. We need to be treated differently than other people in this country, because we are being treated differently than other people in this country. We need to be acknowledged for what we've gone through. We need to be acknowledged for what we're going through. Now, having said that, and I hope that that's my a service announcement out there, I hope for people to be safe. I do think that, unfortunately, because we are ADOS, because we are what we are, we have to look 2 steps ahead. The bad thing about this right now, this is horrible what's going on right now. It really is. It's devastating in many, many ways. But we're going to have to look a step ahead. The devastation is not going to end because, first of all, we're not through the virus. We have to deal with that. Even if early next year, they come up with a vaccine, that's great. But the devastation that was done to us economically is going to come next year. We're going to feel it now, but next year, once the party is all over in terms of this virus, in terms of everything they're doing to supplement people, to help people, to let people be whole right now, we'll stop next year. And at that point, we will be left with the wreckage of this thing. We're going to eat, once again, they're going to try to make us eat that too. We're going to be the ones, as you said, the other caller said, these businesses that are going away, many of these small businesses will not come back. Many of these large businesses will not hire all the people who've been laid off. That's not going to happen. We are going to eat most of the unemployment that comes on the back end of this. We're not going to be the people who are brought back. I'm just saying that right now, because that's the fact. That's how it always has been, and that's how it's going to be this time as well. We will be disproportionately left unemployed next year. So we need to start thinking about that. I don't know what you do, but you need to start thinking about how you can consolidate, places where you can stay, places where you can get resources. And I'm being serious about this. You need to be determining how you can live together after this is over, or while it's happening right now. Survival for the end of this when we get out of this, because it's going to be very serious. We are heading into, if not a deep recession, if not a depression, a deep recession. And I think it's going to be one that we haven't seen in this country in decades, particularly for us. It's going to be a depression for Black America no matter what happens. It might be a recession for the country, but for us it's going to be a depression. And we need to start thinking like that. We need to start learning how to cook. People don't know how to cook, and they need to learn. It's an opportunity right now while you're cocooned up in that house to learn how to actually cook with staples. Now, I'm not talking about TV dinners and all these heathen serves and all that. Actually learn how to make food from scratch. It's on the internet. Look at the internet. Look at these preppers. Look at these people on the internet who do meal preps and all that. It's on there. Learn how to make food from scratch, because you might be able to afford staples on the back end of this.
And learn how to. Let me just say this, fam. Learn how to make cheap food. You know, you can get your rice, your legumes, you can get your lentils, a lot of stuff. That kind of stuff is very, very, very. Learn how to make affordable food. But go on, fam. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Learn how to make affordable food, and as I said before, learn how to make food from staples. Learn how to actually make bread, learn how to make these meals, and learn how to make many of them because you don't want to be bored. Food is something that has to not be boring. My grandmother could make multiple meals with with 7 items. She could probably make 2 weeks worth of different types of meals. We need to learn those skills. Those skills are available on people are watching television. You can go on YouTube. You go on the internet. You can get those skills to learn how to make those we're not talking about complex food. I'm not talking about chefs and all that. I'm talking about making very, very simple foods. If you can do it, make a garden now. Start figuring that out. If you can get some seeds and get a little garden going, all these things. I'm talking about serious survival here because on the backside of this, I don't think people understand how devastating it's going to be next year, like next summer, because these jobs are coming back. I'm looking at people who are telecommuting now at the higher levels. Those people are telecommuting. That means those buildings are going to be empty. We are a lot of the staff that takes care of those buildings. So you're not going to have janitorial people in those buildings anymore. You're not going to have people who are maintenance people, security guards. These are people that's us. These are a lot of us jobs. You're not going to need as much transportation either. So those bus drivers, a lot of them will be laid off because you're not going to have some people commuting as much because you're going to have a huge segment of the population telecommuting. They're going to be at home working. They're not going to be out there. They're not going to need those type of services anymore. So a lot of those services are going to go away, and we are the service workers in this country. It's us. So we need to start planning on how.
No, you're right about it. You're right about it. And those seeds are also another thing that's very inexpensive. You can buy seeds for a little nothing. It's very inexpensive.
Yes.
Those little top guards.
And you don't even need that much land. You need just a little bit of space, a little bit of water. You can even grow them inside the house. You can grow them inside. If you have a space inside where you don't have a yard, you can grow them in a little terrace. You can suspend them you hang them and suspend them. But you're going to need to treat this seriously like this is survival. This is not a playtime anymore. They are restructuring. They're using this opportunity to restructure this country. I'm looking at what they're doing right now because I'm lucky enough to be in a position where I'm not in need. I'm not hurting, and so I'm watching them. I'm watching the restructuring. They're using this as an opportunity. Those black people who are dying in those areas, this is an opportunity to collect real estate for them. That's what that is. This is an opportunity. The homeless people, they're collecting them into quarantine camps. This is an opportunity to clean those homeless people out of those neighborhoods that they want. They're using this opportunity to destroy small businesses or to take them over. The larger businesses are getting the bailout money. They've already got their money. The smaller businesses will wait on their money 3, 4, 6 months from now, and when they're gone, when they can't use it because they won't survive this. So they're restructuring society. They're using this as an opportunity to restructure this society, and we better be careful because when they restructure it, we don't have a place in that. We don't. There's no place in that restructuring for us because we are not those people. They don't need all of us. They have too many of us on their ledger. They have too many of us. So we
on
need
their
to be
ledger, say that.
about
Slow
this.
that down, fam. On their ledger, they have too many of us.
That's right. They have too many of us on that ledger, and they need us. They want us out of here. They want us out here for a long time. This is another golden opportunity for them to do it, because between these deaths and between what they're going to do in terms of pushing us out of the economic system, this is going to be devastating. And so we need to really be careful. We need to physically survive. We need to take care of each other, but we need to be planning on extremely hard times on the backside of this. I'm saying we've always gone through hard times, but this will be something equivalent to what our grandparents went through in the Depression. And that was a horrible time. People never talk about what black people were doing during that time period. It was horrible. If you were in the cities, it was devastating and horrible. It set the pace for us to live the way we're living now. When she talked about the epigenetics, she was talking about how black people in the 1930s, that was when they set the foundation that we're living in right now. That Depression era set the foundation for us to be in a position that we are in right now. So they're going to set it even lower. We're going to be devastated by this thing. And so we need to, this is a time when we really need ADOS. We really need to organize so that we can have some kind of political force. None of this playtime stuff. All that Van Jones and all this stuff, we don't have time for that playtime stuff. This is serious. You know, wartime? This is serious wartime for us, and we need to have a wartime setting in terms of us understanding that this is something. That thing about us being poor in a few years, no, that's happening right now. That zero wealth is going to happen in the next 2 years.
It just expedite. That's a great point, fam. They said by this time we're going to have it, but they didn't take into account we were going to go to zero, 2053. They didn't take into account a pandemic, right? We're here right now.
They just update. We're done. We're going to hit zero in a couple of years now, because this is going to devastate us. So this is devastation, and on the backside of the devastation, people aren't looking at where do you think housing is going to go in this. The black people who do own houses, where do you think that's going to go? These houses aren't going to go up in value in these next few years, because there's going to be such a loss in income. So all of the
not only that, fam. Let me just say one thing and hold that thought. Not only just a loss of income. What happens if you have a house and then the people around you lose their house? You don't have a neighborhood anymore. You don't have a community, so your house loses value too. We already weren't accruing in value with our homes. What do you think it looks like now? It just implodes.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly my point. Our neighborhoods are not wealth equity neighborhoods anyway. So when something like this happens, it accelerates that. That's why I said we're going to head towards zero much quicker than the projections were before. It's coming right now, and so we need to be very serious about this. We need to organize like your life depends on it, because it does. Your life does depend on us organizing and politically organizing and moving this thing forward. You saw them writing. They're printing money like it's toilet paper. It actually is less valuable.
Faster.
Did you get that? But they're printing this money like whatever, like we asked for trillions of dollars. They put $2 trillion out there in a 24-hour period. There you go, throw it on the street right there. So, but that money's not for you and me. That money was for Boeing. That money was for all the insiders in Wall Street. That money was for them to keep playing that game. So we need to understand that we're alone out here.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
just us. So we need to get in that room and talk about that and push them to get some of that, so that we can at least eat and survive. Because without it, we can't. We cannot. This is not a bootstrap moment.
No.
This is not going to happen. You can't bootstrap. You can't bootstrap in this, because there's nothing there. Not only that you have bootstraps or boots, you may not have ground to stand on the way it's going right now. So we need to be very serious about this. And I'm gonna get off of here, but I'm gonna leave one more thing and say, I want people to be sure to be safe. Don't take any risk out there, because you don't know where you stand. You don't necessarily know what your underlying health issues are. You may have high blood pressure or diabetes and not be diagnosed.
Because you ain't went to the doctor or something happened. You got stressed out and it elevated. That happened to me. I was fine, and then it just elevated and didn't go back down or whatever. And I went to the doctor and they said, you have how? I didn't know. Last time I came here, I didn't have nothing. So I think that's true. Like, we don't get to, you don't know what you have. You don't know. You think, I'm fine, I don't have nothing. You don't know that.
And you made a good point there too. A lot of it, the stress-induced comorbidities can happen as well. You can be triggered to become diabetic. You can be triggered to have hypertension during periods of stress. You can have all kinds of things triggered in your body because you're under stress. Your body is reacting in ways you're not supposed to be in a situation like this. Your body is designed to deal with stress in short bursts. Yeah. You're supposed to be in stress for a moment, you remove yourself from the stress, and then it's over. You're not supposed to have a daily stress. You get up every day. I get up every day and I have to go out there. So every day you got to get up and be stressed about, okay, what's going to happen today? Did I wash my hands? Did I get too close to that person? Was that person sick? I don't know. Am I sick? Wait a minute. I feel a little funny. Am I getting ill?
Fam. When pollen came to where I am, I almost lost my mind because my eyes were itching out my nose, and I said, "Oh Lord, what was I? I don't think I went nowhere. I stayed at home. What's going on with something?" And it was pollen. But I say that because when your body starts doing something, you don't know, because where we are, you don't know, is this something, and you realize that's pollen. Child, shut up. But I understand exactly what you're saying. Like the stress of okay, and then the stress of this thing is it can be up to 2 weeks before it shows its ugly little face. So you don't know. You got to sit with that. So if you made a mistake, you got to sit with that for a long time before. It's not like a cold where you might know in a couple days or whatever. You got to sit with that knowledge that you might be sick and it hasn't just shown up yet. And that's stressful. And our lives are stressful in general. You're not built to be up under that. But I'm going to let you have the last word, fam, before I go to the next call.
The last word I got here is, like I said before, everybody cover your face. I mean that. Cover your face with something, because the fact of the matter is, if you have it, you may be asymptomatic and you have it, which is going to be most of us. That means that you are the danger. You're walking around as the person who is spreading it. So you need to be considerate of the people around you. Wear a face mask. It doesn't have to be N95. Ideally, yeah, but you can't get those. You need something to cover your face to keep some of the viral particles from going out into the atmosphere and possibly contaminating other people. That will help them. It can help you if you're not, if you don't have the infection and another person is wearing a mask. It will help you as well because less viral particles will come out, and there's less of a potential for you bringing those into your body and getting the infection. They don't know what the viral load is on this. No one's talking about that. There has to be a certain viral load, but I don't think they know enough yet. So right now, minimizing the viral load that comes into your body is vitally important. So wear a mask, wear gloves, don't get near large crowds. Be careful and be sure to take in some vitamins. Take in some vitamin D. Vitamin D, vitamin C, and zinc supplements have been proven. Well, let me take that back. They haven't been proven, but I'm pretty sure you can go online and look it up. There's a Dr. Campbell in England who does a daily update on this. He brought forth all the information about vitamin D. He even mentioned black people in a very funny way, saying that one of the advantages of being white is that he gets vitamin D through the sunlight. Black people do not. They need to take supplements to get that vitamin D into your body to make sure that your immune system is strong. So people always talk about vitamin C, and you need that. But vitamin D, we are almost all of us, black people, deficient in vitamin D, and vitamin D is vital to your immune system. So you need to get that vitamin D, get that vitamin C, and get that zinc supplement. It helps your immune system. If you get a viral infection, it will help your body fight it off. It will possibly keep you from getting sick at all. And if you do get sick, the studies show that you usually don't get as sick with viral infections. Not necessarily COVID, we don't know yet, but we're treating it like it is a viral infection, so we treat it like all the other viral infections. So vitamin D supplement, vitamin C, and zinc. Be sure to get those supplements into your body so it'll cover your face, and be safe out there and take care of yourself. And I'll let you go on that.
No, thank you, fam. I appreciate, as always, I appreciate your calls, fam. I appreciate your calls. Yeah. Somebody told me don't take vitamin D without taking vitamin K too. So I don't know what y'all looked it up and y'all let me know. But fam, yeah, it is something. I mean, we're gonna have to get out of here now. I know some of y'all in quarantine, but we're gonna have to. It's about time to get up out of here now. We can't be here all the day long. But we're gonna have a conversation. We're gonna continue to have a conversation because we got to. And I know a lot of you are going to talk to me about what has happened in your world, in your life, and that will continue as we continue to have the show. That was a great call. I ain't got nothing else for me to say. I don't have nothing else to say. That was a wonderful call. I appreciate it. I want to thank everybody who called in tonight. I appreciate it. It was a good night for calls. It was concise. It was to the point. And we might, I can't promise anything, but like the way this thing is unraveling, we might have some additional shows because the way the calls have been, people want to have this conversation, and we need to have this conversation. Like what's really happening here is that we just like brainstorming, because this is going to, and what he said, like this is a restructuring. I used to call it a reset. When you reset, you start from wherever. You can start from zero. You can start from here. You can start from there, and that's just kind of where we are. And so, fam, please enjoy. If you are fortunate enough or unfortunate, depending on whether or not you're being paid. If you work from home, wonderful. If we know most of us can't. If you're on quarantine, you get unemployment, please try to take this time to at least get some rest. Don't treat stress like a bucket or something. Pick it up and put it down. Pick it up and put it down. Don't carry that stress with you all the time, everywhere. Don't do that. And fam, just take care of yourself. And until next time, until we do the next show or whatever, please try to be as easy as you can. Be vigilant though. You got to be vigilant. I don't have the next book either yet, for the book club, but listen, be vigilant, but don't carry that stress all the time. Even if you can't pay it, you got to have a moment to put it down, or you will have an underlying illness. So please hit that like button, fam. Please share. Please hit the bell if you have not hit the bell. Please subscribe to the channel. Please do all of that stuff. And we will be back again here next time to have the discussion And just take care of yourself, fam. This is a really critical time, critical era. You heard what the family's going through tonight, what people are struggling with, what's coming, the advice. Please, 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 please do everything within your power. I know everything's not in your power, but do everything within your power to take care of yourself. And I'll see you next time, fam. Thank you.